Number 3. Don't try and go pro. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say this, but this is probably something you want to get out of your system very early into your gaming career, especially if you play competitive games. Ever since I saw Forgiven dancing on motherfuckers on Lucian and Graves in Season 3, I was convinced being pro in League was all that I wanted. It seemed like the perfect job. Get paid to play the game that I love and fuck cute e-girls along the way to a trophy. Shit, 13 years later and I still think it's a fucking dream job half the time. And you might be in the same boat too. Last year's Worlds Finals was probably the greatest series in League of Legends history, and that's coming from someone who's been watching pro play for like 11 years. Watching the greatest player of all time go down 2-1, about to lose game 4 and roll back the years and ascend into absolute god mode one more time for 2 games in a row, to completely shit on the new kids on the block and win his 5th Worlds Championship was a moment that I'll remember for the rest of my life. You might even be inspired to pursue a professional league career after that series, and I don't blame you at all. If I didn't know what I know now, I would be in the same boat as you. However, it's one of the least likely outcomes possible, and it's something 13-year-old me didn't quite understand, and this caused me to end up wasting the majority of my teenage years trying and ultimately failing. So, in order to prevent you from the same fate, let me drop a few gems on this topic. First and foremost, understand the sheer amount of luck required to even go pro in the first place. Because as much as we want to believe the Naruto storyline of grinding until you achieve your dreams, it's not always that easy. Shit, looking back on it, it's easy to forget how absurdly stacked Naruto's deck was. True, he had to overcome a lot of hurdles along the way, but he was the son of 2 extremely powerful ninjas and had a cheat code embedded inside of him since he was a baby. If you don't acknowledge the luck required to go pro, you're doomed to repeat the same cycle that I did and waste years of your life in the process. Luck is part of success. It's certainly not a prerequisite for a decent amount of success that puts you above the average of like normal people, but when you start to break into the best in the world category, luck is mandatory. The faster you accept this and recalibrate your expectations, the less you ruin your life wasting time grinding games trying to go pro. Take a look at this clip from I Will Dominate, a former pro player and all-star, breaking down just how good you need to be at the game to go pro.
I think that you can have a job, go to school, and maintain high challenger, even potentially get rank 1 before you quit. I think you could actually be more like realistic. Like a player like Gorilla Jones, the problem here is that Gorilla Jones is never going to make it because he's just simply not good at the game. Like, he is not a good player. I've played with this guy for years. I know exactly how he plays. He is not somebody who even plays the game in a way where I feel like is very conducive to improvement. It seems like he's just somebody who just fights perma and doesn't really consider other factors. And I don't think he has the ability to consider other factors. So in 6 months, I would be very surprised if Gorilla Jones ever ends up in a tier 1 pro scene.
If a Grandmaster player, which is like 0.06% of the player base, is simply not even close to being anywhere good enough to go pro, what chance do you and I have? The basic test for judging if you're good enough to go pro is simple but fucking brutal. You have to be challenger in the first 2 years of starting the game. Why? Because the players that make it to pro play in the first place, let alone actually succeed in the long term, all have the level of talent where they can reliably hit this milestone. What if you can't hit this? Congratulations, you're just like the 99.99999% of the human population. Accept your first real dose of reality and invest your time into something else. If you guys are new here, my name is Raybees. I teach non-talented gamers how to get good and develop a healthy relationship with video games. I do mostly League of Legends climbing content, gaming psychology videos, as well as videos on other games coming soon. If you guys find value in any of my videos, do make sure to like and subscribe so the algorithm promotes me to a bigger audience. Number 2, don't live for friend groups. This one I'm kind of ashamed to admit, but y'all need to hear this. Playing video games with friends is fun. Hell, it can even be some of the most fun you'll ever experience, especially in your adolescent high school years. This is exactly why you need to be extra careful, because you can get addicted to that camaraderie. Notice what I said there. I didn't say you were going to get addicted to the game, but to the camaraderie. It can be a bit of a tricky situation to wrap your head around, but let me put it like this. Video games can be a vehicle for experiencing friendship and bonding in an extremely high-stim environment. And with the way our brains are wired, we chase both social bonding and stimulating activities to fire up our neural circuitry and create positive associations between them. Now, imagine how addictingly pleasurable it can be when we combine those two functionalities. Playing to look good in front of other people can be a slippery slope to go down because you start to change your schedule around them and destroy your own priorities just to spend time with your gaming buddies. I think you start to get rid of this the older you get, but for younger people out there, be very, very mindful of this. Ask yourself, do you like playing this game, or do you like playing this game simply because you have friends to play with? Now, I'm not telling you to cut off your friend groups entirely and play like a hermit, but this can be a very addictive path to go down if you don't acknowledge just how dangerous it can be. Play with your friends, but don't be willing to sacrifice the things in your life just for playing with them. Be more selfish and be more aware of the things you need to do in your life to become successful and happy. Because if playing with your friends is the highlight of your day, then there's something seriously wrong with your life that needs to be fixed ASAP. Number 1. Be wary of your competitive spirit being siphoned by video games. I think the biggest drawback to spending time in video games is you start to lose track of the stimulation and start getting addicted to the progress. What might have started out as an innocent excursion into a little bit of virtual fun eventually becomes something you must accomplish, and your direction and ambition all become siphoned away into progressing into the game instead of progressing with your real life. It's a tale as old as video games itself. What do we do to prevent ourselves from falling down this rabbit hole? Because video games are created with this exact purpose in mind. No matter how innocuous the game might be and how well-meaning the devs might be, it's still a point of pride for them if you spend a shit ton of time on their product. What kind of video game dev is going to tell you, stop playing my game and go out and touch grass or something? They're never going to say that. That's not in their modus operandi. It's good for them, but is it good for you? Ask yourself why you play video games. If you derive genuine enjoyment and fulfillment from engaging in that medium, sure, go for it. However, if you find yourself playing video games because of a friend group or you're convinced your calling is to become a pro player even though you're like fucking cement stuck in Emerald, then I would be very careful. So, how do we fix this? Give yourself permission to do other things with your life. It's easier for some people than others, and I really want to drive this point home for compulsive addicts out there. If you're not getting anything out of engaging in the medium, and you don't have a pure, candid appreciation for League or any other game, please don't waste your life, and most importantly, competitive spirit chasing these virtual goals. Because while you're chasing these goals, you put your real body and mind on pause. Think of it like this. You're essentially stopping your real self from moving forward when you engage with games or any other distracting medium. The real world progresses forward and gets more and more challenging, sort of like fucking inflation, while you remain stagnant. And guess what happened when enough time passes? You're fucked. One thing I'm realizing as I'm going into my late 20s is that life gets more and more difficult with each passing year. Like, not in terms of finances and overworking and all that other shit, but literally when it comes to physicality as well. Like, for example, for the first time in my life, I recently had to take up stretching and warm up seriously in the gym. Otherwise, I would really get fucked up during my sessions. Which got me thinking, do y'all really have time to be spending on video games? Because from where I'm standing, life gets harder and harder with each passing year. So it makes common sense to use the first 30 years of your life to set yourself up for the next 30. The long term matters unless you plan on dying before 25 or 30, you know what I mean? Enjoy your games, only if that's something you want to do, outside of external pressures and expectations. Because they can be a very beautiful medium, like seriously guys. But unlike other mediums like TV shows, the competitive plus social element makes them dangerously addictive, and is something you always want to keep in the back of your mind when gaming for so long. Learn to enjoy them, but be very careful of the impulse to tie your self-worth to them. That's a recipe for disaster. That's it from me in this video, guys. Help out the channel by liking and subscribing. I run a $10 a month coaching program for people who want to learn to get better at League of Legends, or for people who are trying to get in control of their gaming addiction. If you're interested in any of that, join my Discord and hit me up. I've attached my entire addiction playlist for people that are looking to get themselves more clarity when it comes to video game addiction, so make sure to click on that. That's it from me in this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.